Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending what time you're perhaps watching the recording. Welcome once again to our monthly broadcast. Every third Thursday of the month. Delighted that once again you could join us. Delighted to be joined, first of all, by our special guest today, Sophie Lowther. How are you, Sophie?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Good to have you here. And of course, our special resident, co-host, property expert, almost an expert in most things he puts his hand to. I think that's how I seem to come across. Mr. John Corey, how are you?
It did take you a while to figure that out.
You had to earn that though. You have to earn that.
Good day.
Good day, good day, good day. Yeah, you've got the professional good day, so it doesn't matter what time zone you're talking in or whatever. So, okay. So for those who are perhaps watching this recording or have tuned in for the first time, my name is David Johnson. I'm the CEO of LEOcrowdfunding. We're an equity property crowdfunding platform, and my monthly co-host of this now almost coming up in 2.5, 3 years broadcast, Mr. John Corey. Introduce yourself.
I'm thinking we're actually over 3 years. It's like, whoa. But anyway, John Corey, Property Fortress, US, UK, real estate investor, long time. Technically, without getting too personal, I think I've been investing in property longer than Sophie's been alive, but what can we say? So,
Cool. There we are. People are now getting their calculators out, trying to do quick maths on that. But
well, that also tells you what age group you're in, whether you have a calculator. So I was literally the first university cohort age, whatever, that we were allowed calculators on an exam.
Let's come back a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm actually over in Leicester at the minute. And in fact, I'm here with VJ. Want to jump in, VJ?
Hi.
So VJ Patel, yeah, is obviously the fundraiser of the Citygate project. You raised a bunch of money on our platform.
That's right.
And VJ's just taking me around the Citygate site, all the different floors, looking at the views. Sat down and done a full update on the project. So I've come back to an office here in Leicester. So thank you for your hospitality today. And obviously then if you have invested in this project, I can't remember, John, if you have or haven't, it doesn't really matter if you have or haven't, but certainly those on the call that have, then there'll be a full update coming out then. We'll finish today and we'll get it off. And I know you're looking forward to keeping everyone informed what's happening.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks, VJ. Appreciate that. Thank you. So, getting on that straight away.
Hang on. Yeah. So I don't remember whether I invested, but one of the nice things about Leo is I can look it up on my register of my investments. The other idea is diversifying, is you should have smaller amounts, large amounts, whatever it is, but spread it across a number of projects so that you can spread out that risk when it comes to if there's a plane crash or a dead king is found under a car park and all the weird and wacky things that you would never anticipate. So I actually do think I invested in the Leicester project as one of the ones in my portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good point. You can monitor that, and as you build up your portfolio, you can go in and see where each project is up to. Okay, so we always like to start with a little bit of market update, just so people can get a handle on perhaps some interesting stats or some things that are relevant to the market. So what's been picked today is most recent Halifax House Price Index reveals average house price has increased by just under 1% in March. That followed a 1.2% rise in February. So the typical, if there is such a thing as a typical UK property, not that really means a whole pile because there's such a diversity in the stock. But certainly, despite all the current economic challenges and climate, house prices still seem to be creeping upwards. Number of sales agreed recovered in the last month following the post mini budget slump in September. So the indicators, John, obviously these go up and down, but certainly there's no sign of the complete doom and gloom. Things are sort of ticking along as normal as they do in property.
Yeah, I mean the news cycle is let's find interesting stories, and it doesn't always match reality. One sort of off topic for this, Michael Gove spoke yesterday in the BBC about how rent prices haven't gone up as much as inflation. So for the renters, they've actually been doing better than the inflation rate. Now, granted, any individual circumstances might vary, but fundamentally, yeah, we've had some changes. We've had some rent increases. We've had some house price increases. We've had inflation. We've had an interesting year or two, but we're, as you said, sort of ticking along.
Excellent, excellent. The other thing that I just noticed a little bit of was affordable housing. And there's an article covering affordable housing in the different parts of UK and Ireland. So certainly the Scottish government have announced quite a significant funding into affordable housing. And even in Republic of Ireland, South of Ireland, they're putting a lot of emphasis on hard cash funding into the area of affordable housing. So I think as we move forward, it's an area, John, that is going to have more and more of a focus because it is meeting a social need that exists in the UK and Ireland.
But what do you mean it?
Affordable housing.
Yeah, but is affordable housing entry-level starter homes for people to buy? Is it social rent? Is it government subsidized private, or is it housing association? So I find the topics rather interesting. So affordable is whatever someone can afford. But one of the biggest solutions, as most countries that are having trouble would say, is we need to build more.
Yes, yes. Well, build more, but would you also say build more of the right type of stock?
Well, that comes down to how you're paying for it. So if you're asking the private people to build more, they have to be houses they can sell. As we could see in the investments on various projects at Leo, they have to be at prices that A, will attract the capital, and B, could be sold off profitably. If it's supposed to be social rent or affordable for first-time buyers, that normally implies a subsidy. But where's the subsidy come from? Because the first-time buyers and the renters many times do struggle at the higher end, whatever that means.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Sophie, you're obviously based up in Liverpool. I have
Yeah.
no idea your sort of knowledge or expertise on affordable housing up in the in that area of England. But I'm assuming there's a fair bit of affordable housing around that area.
There is more so for completed properties, but if you're wanting to look to buy to let, I don't think there's many, just because of the regeneration going on. The house prices definitely crept up alongside that at the moment.
Yeah, okay. Brilliant. So if anyone does want to deep dive into that a bit more, all the links are there. You can do a quick screen grab and have a look in more detail at our market update. So just a quick aside, as I said, I'm actually over in England here at the minute, been here actually since Monday. So on Tuesday morning, Lars Singleton from Empowered Pensions, Andy Babayan from Target 5, we attended an event which was to do with property funds and REITs. So that's something that's close to John's heart. I'm sure he would have been loved to have been there to listen to lawyers and some large property funds and REITs discussing some of the changes in recent legislation. There it is. That I wonder how long it's going to take for the interludes to arrive in. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Yeah, so that was a really interesting day, John. I mean, literally, it was about an hour and 20 minutes of a quite an in-depth into some of the changes in legislation and the rules around REITs, which really make it more accessible to people in property.
Accessible to the people creating a REIT, right? Rather than people buying into it, because anybody can buy a share of a REIT.
Yes.
So I would argue they're pretty accessible. How to start them, what it costs, what the overheads of running them. I'm sure you'll give us a full debrief another time.
Yeah. Well, the one big takeaway, just by way of update for people, is that recent changes, there's a certain type of REIT that does not have to be listed on a stock exchange anymore. So that is quite significant, because that was the barrier to entry in many cases was the cost of obviously a listing. That has been removed, which certainly is a bit of a game changer for that market. But as you say, that's a conversation another day. Maybe that's a guest down the line, an expert in REITs. We'll get them on the broadcast. I also then attended the Property Deal Network event. I was speaking to Kevin Cooper for probably nearly 2 years now. Never actually met him in the flesh. So I was able to go to his event in Mayfair on, what would that have been, Tuesday night. and spend time with him. And again, met some really great people over at that networking event, which was fantastic. Okay, moving on then to some projects on the platform currently. An update on this one, and this is one that Sophie knows very well. She's based up in Liverpool, knows the developer well, Integritas Property Group. So Sophie, we had originally had a raise for 750,000. Obviously, it's a 2-year project. So what we've done is we have broke it down into tranches. So the first tranche, the minimum raise is 100,000, maximum 250, and then when we sort of fill that raise, we'll then move on to tranche 2, and then obviously up to 750. So I know you're working on this, Sophie, quite a bit. I think it's at 69,500. Is that right? Or any movement since then?
We actually got an investor this morning that put an extra £2,000 in, so we're actually at 71,500 now. I'm currently also talking to another investor at the moment, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have another 20,000 in by the end of, if not today, the end of this week. So that'll take us just where we need to be nearly. And then yeah, we've got a few more left, and then we'll be done.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That's always good news when the invested amount's higher than what the screen says.
Definitely.
That's always a good one. So yeah, so this is a project. You can go on the homepage. You can download the equity offer document and have a good look at the central point up in Liverpool. It's one of the blocks. You can see 4 blocks there in the picture. So it's one of these blocks is what the crowdfunding project is. The projected ROI on this is 19% per annum over 2 years. And I say once we reach the 100,000 minimum, and judging what you're saying, Sophie, we're not too far away from doing that. Hopefully a couple of days, we then can draw that down, and those funds can go to the developer, and then we'll do various tranches as we go along. So if this is one you've had a look at, then by all means revisit it and decide if this is an investment for you or not. So we also have 2 raises that are very close to going view deal on the platform. I know that the Blackfin on SidCup, this is from AJ and his team over in PLMD. So no, it's literally at the final sort of review before going view deal. So keep an eye out for that one. And there'll be a project webinar coming up, and also the Stafford Gardens, which is part of a planning uplift project. Again, it's probably be view deal next week. So we keep an eye out for those, and you'll be able to have a look. What's it interesting, John? I know you always like to allude to this. Central Point is a pretty vanilla development project. Blackfin is really an income project, but it does have some additional plays of capital growth and maybe planning uplift. And Stafford Gardens is really this whole project's around planning. So different types of projects, one of the benefits of a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah, there's quite a variety when you look at the individual projects, and there can be opportunities for some projects where you can invest in different phases. You can sit out certain phases if that's not what you want to do. I know one that's already, they did a planning raise, they finished that, then they moved on to the development phase. So investors who were in the planning phase could decide if they wanted to participate or not. People might have said planning's too risky for me, but they came in at the construction phase. So it really is up to the individual investor.
Yep. So thank you, John, for that. So anyone interested in these projects, get on the platform, download the equity offer document, read everything. There's a forum there as well, so you can see questions asked by other people, ask a question yourself, and do your due diligence.
So it's super clear. It's a forum per project, so you don't have to wade through a bunch of other stuff. You can focus in on one individual project. If you're interested in 2, then you would have 2 separate forums where you can discuss each project.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's get on to our special guest and topic today. Delighted to be deep delving a little bit with Sophie Lowther, who is our now our investor portfolio manager. The topic today we're discussing is investor communication and crowdfunding. But first and foremost, Sophie, welcome officially to your first monthly broadcast as a LEOcrowd team member. And over to you, a wee bit of your background. How have you ended up in this role?
Yeah, so I did my law degree 4 years back now. I did that over in Ormskirk, and then I went on to do a master's in law and business. So I did that for a while COVID was going on. I was going to take a year out and travel for a bit, but I thought get my master's done and then go from there. I've worked in a solicitor's for about a year and a bit, and then it wasn't really for me. I worked in conveyancing. I did enjoy it, to be honest, but I just knew that there was more out there for what I wanted to achieve. So then I stumbled across a job with Elevate, the master selling agent, in Liverpool. So I did that for a while and learned a lot about the property market, about different investments. And then I also went on to work as an alternative investment coordinator for Elevate and then for Vertex Capital Group, which is an alternative product, and that was over in Portugal. I did that for a while and then got introduced to Leo through Elevate. So I worked alongside Leo with Elevate and then sort of swapped over. Now I work specifically for Leo, but in the Elevate office. So yeah, I've learned a lot in the past couple of years, but I really enjoy it. I love being able to speak with clients and take them through the journey. Just give them an idea of a different type of investment, because a lot of people, when you first think, oh, I want to invest, I want to do something like that, they just think specifically, I have to buy a property, I have to invest in a property. I haven't really, so it's good to see other types of investments that you can get involved in as well. So it's been a journey, but I'm really enjoying it. So far so good.
Thank you very much indeed. And you've kind of, I think, when we had the conversation about you coming to work for LEOcrowdfunding, one thing that shone out was your passion and your interest in sort of communication with clients. You kind of enjoy interacting with clients, answering their questions. What is it that you find either exciting or energizing about that engagement?
Just how happy clients are when they actually realize that there are things that they can get involved in, and that they like the project as well, and like they like the idea of the investment, but being able to explain it and take them through the journey for something that's going to benefit them as well, and just teaching them something they didn't really realize was possible before. I like that aspect of it, to be able to take them down that journey, and then when they're obviously pleased at the end of their investment, when they're getting the returns, when they've widened the portfolio, it's just good to be able to be involved in that journey.
Brilliant, fantastic. That's a nice role to be in, where you get job satisfaction of happy clients.
Definitely.
So in terms of LEOcrowdfunding, and one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you on board with us is that there should be, every company should have specific goals and benefits of investor relations. So within our world of property investment, investor relations is, it's intended to increase sustained investor confidence by ensuring that fundraisers are giving accurate information and timely information on investments. So I mean, part of your role is going to be that as fundraisers do updates, you're going to be obviously communicating with the investors and then taking any questions from that. So in that, you've indicated that's what you enjoy doing. I know you're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, definitely. The feedback's very important. So yeah, the more feedback, the better. So we can do what we can to one, improve Leo, and two, improve the customer journey as well.
And I know you're only sort of through the door. I think you did your first shareholder meeting.
I did. I was on the Alderwick and the Duke Street shareholders meeting earlier on in the week. So it was good to see how the other projects work and how they are and how they're spoken about as well. Because obviously I just specifically was on Central Point beforehand. So it is good just to see the journey of the projects as well.
So John, have you any comments on in terms of just the goals and benefits of investor relations, or it's something as a passive investor, it's something that's close to your heart, that the platform should take this part of the model very, very seriously?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of layers. One is, it's nice knowing the platform is coordinating the collection of the information. Being a bit lazy, I like that someone else is doing that work, and also that all the information will end up in one place. So if I'm busy with the project, if I'm doing something else, I don't have to necessarily pay attention. And then when I have time, I can go back and I can look at each project. I can look at the communication, it's all there, and I can go backwards in time and say, well, I thought they said something different. And I can look backwards, and there's an audit trail, so to speak, of all the comms. So having it in one place, I don't have to sort of wade through my email to find things. I don't have to go jumping around to YouTube or something else to find out what the updates are. I can just go to the dashboard and look it up.
And your role, Sophie, will become easier when you've been involved in a project from the start. So when you see it coming on the platform, you're obviously liaising with investors as they register in the platform. I think it's fair to say you've been doing a lot with helping people with maybe problems with their KYC.
Yeah.
I mean, what have been the more frequent problems of people with their ID? What have you found?
So David, explain for the audience KYC and AML, because I know you're going to say that too. That's
a really good point. So as part of being able to invest into property assets on a crowdfunding platform, the FCA have created a criteria. So an investor must be eligible, and to be eligible, there's three things you have to do. Is number one, complete a short appropriateness test, to confirm you understand the nature of investing and risks as well as the rewards. Then you've got to do KYC, which is know your customer, and that is being able to identify who the customer is, usually by a passport or a driving license, and sometimes it also involves a proof of address. And then there is AML, which is anti-money laundering, and again there could be some additional documents that are required, again just to confirm source of funds before they're deployed on the platform. So those three things all have to be ticked, if you like, and really, Sophie, that's really your main role, is to support investors that maybe have questions around that or challenges. So regarding the KYC bit, the photo ID, what are some of the challenges that investors have doing that sometimes?
Sometimes one, the passport's out of date and they've not noticed, or they've not got all four corners in the picture. They're very specific about how they like the picture being taken. So even if you think that it's 100%, I can read that and it's all there, they may have a problem with it. So you've got to make sure that it's definitely in all four corners. There's no blur. There's no backflash from a camera, from the lighting. It's got to be, it's got to be perfect. It can't be upside down. It's got to be straightforward, cropped, to the point, just there. Yeah, exactly. So that's been one of the main ones. But when we just chat to them and just say, look, you just move it to the right a little bit and just make sure there's no light. Usually the second attempts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic. And that's the big part of the role, for sure. Okay. So moving on a little bit, and again, we want to use today to discuss this whole thing about investor communication, particularly on projects that have already funded. So a good place to start is again pointing people in the direction of PS 2210, which is when the FCA put out another policy statement, and it was actually entitled "Strengthening Our Financial Promotion Rules for High Risk Investments," and of course that includes property. So the eagle-eyed investors among you would have noticed on the 1st of February the actual risk warnings changing, and it really couldn't be any clearer, John. I mean, the first sentence is, don't invest unless you're prepared to lose all the money you invest. That is one potential outcome of investing in property in any sphere, particularly on a crowdfunding platform. So I mean, it can't be any more blunt than that, John, can it?
Well, it can be. I've lost 100% of my money on the past investments. It was actually on a different platform, but what people need to understand is you're investing as a limited partner. You have no liability for the loan and other things like that, but you can lose 100% of your capital. And I was investing in a planning project. It didn't achieve planning as predicted. The money was spent on applying for that planning, so therefore the cash was wiped out. And you have to basically bake that in or factor that in, that if you have a loss here and you have gains in some others, what is that total going to look like, and how are you doing? Are you ahead? Are you behind? So while the returns might look attractive, I think the FCA talks about salience risk, where you over fixate on the upside and you don't pay attention to the downside. So folks, you can lose all your cash in any one investment. Stuff happens.
Yeah, that is the reality of I mean, it's called investing for a reason, because it's not nothing guaranteed. You're looking at the opportunity that might be there and weighing up the risks that go with it. We definitely point people to the LEOcrowdfunding.com/risk-summary, and that's where new investors should go and read before they take the appropriateness test, and it will lay out the nature of this type of investing. So the what I sometimes refer to, John, is that while there is a series of hurdles before someone can invest on a crowdfunding platform, the alternative is you just go out to the Wild West and you take your chance where there's just no compliance, no regulation. So it's either go through the painful entry of do your hurdles, answer your questions, the appropriateness test, become eligible, or not. But either way, there's risk.
Well, the risk is almost has nothing to do with the platform. The risk is the project. The risk is the operator. The Queen, when she was on the throne, had a relative that was buried under a car park. Well, that developer had their project completely halted. Well, the interest rate's still ticking along, but they couldn't do any work on the project till they figured out what they're going to do with this dead king. There was a person who bought a lease on a building in New York. Within 30 days, that building collapsed. That was called the World Trade Center and the Twin Towers, and they had just bought the lease. Well, there's no rent when the building's not there. Stuff happens all the time.
That's good point. So that actually leads on to what's is an important thing, and again, part of Sophie's role is having conversations with investors so that they actually understand the nature of the model. So Leo crowdfunding are not responsible for the project updates per se. The platform is a conduit for the information from the fundraiser. So we contact the fundraiser. The responsibility for providing the update and the quality of the update is with the fundraiser. We obviously do our best to put pressure on them to make sure they do it in a timely manner. But as some are aware, in recent months, we have simply sent an update out to investors which states the fundraiser has not supplied any further updates, and we're letting you know that. Doesn't reflect well on the fundraiser. It's not good for investor confidence, but that's the reality. If the fundraiser doesn't give us the information, then we can't pass it on. So I know, John, with your kind of expertise in crowdfunding, you're very clear that platforms sit in the middle, and you've got the two sides of the marketplace that obviously are operating together, and we're just a conduit.
Yeah, I mean, let me make it very personal. I don't want to have to chase investors or the people, project developers, whatever you would call them. And I really don't like talking on the phone about it. So knowing that there's a platform that will collect the information, if there's any, and that everybody who's invested will get the same information, and there's no sort of competitive advantage or disadvantage about how hard you chase someone, that the information is made available as and when it's provided to the platform. If the developer or person that raised the money is poor in their communication, I want to know that. I want to see a track record of that. They dropped the ball, they dropped the ball, they dropped the ball. I'm not investing the next time around. You know, like basically, we're not going to blacklist them, but it's going to be very public that you're basically incompetent at communicating with investors. So you're out when it comes to the next raise. That the people with the cash will walk away because now we all know your track record. Well, I was going to say something, maybe I shouldn't. Do you have a beeper? You don't like the buzz, like the words you're not supposed to say. So it's up to the person that raised the money to continue to do their job, which is not only run the project, but communicate. And if there's nothing to report because nothing's happened, say, nothing's happened in the last month. Thank you for watching. Come see us, come talk to us in a month's time, you know, that sort of thing. Rather than they continue to say nothing, they continue to say nothing because most of us on the sidelines will say, oh, it must be going wrong. They're not communicating.
Yeah. And is it fair to say, Sophie, this is obviously a big part of your job is taking the questions from investors to say a developer hasn't done an update or investors are concerned. How do you, what's your process for dealing with that? If someone contacts you or emails you, what's your normal method of operation?
I usually make sure that they're aware that I've received the email and I will be full. I'll answer it myself if I have the information there. So, for example, if it is for Central Point, I'll do my best to answer it in the best way I can. So actually go down to the site, and we take monthly drone footage every single month, just to show the investors how it's going on, what progress has been made in the past month, and just give them like a full personal view of the site going all. We fly the drone really close into all the groundwork, seeing all the concrete frames, everything that have just been erected and things like that. So we make it a lot more personal. But if I don't know for on one of the projects I'm not too familiar with, I will make sure that I send it to you and Brenda or the support team just to make sure that it does get answered as quickly as possible, really, just to make sure someone's aware that the question has been asked.
Yeah, you make an interesting point about the drone footage, etc., and it's why we're probably sometimes hard on fundraisers, and sometimes legitimately, but some fundraisers probably have never had to deal with updating a group of investors before, so it's new to them, and maybe as a platform we need to educate fundraisers better as well. So like I was on Citygate this morning with VJ, incredibly experienced guy in development. As we're driving through Leicester, he's pointing these buildings out that he either bought and sold on with planning, or 3 or 4 buildings that he actually did the construction for. I mean, it was like 6 different buildings in Leicester, more or less city centre, that VJ and his team have done. So, I mean, there's no question about the guy's track record, but he's never had to deal with a crowdfunding crowd before. So we're chasing him for updates. And I suppose we need to do a better job with fundraisers to say, look, give us pictures, give us video clips. It might seem strange to them. In fact, one of the project managers said to me, but if I just take pictures every month, it's really the same. I'm taking the same picture. I was like, yes, but at least the investors know this is the picture was taken this month. So maybe trying to align those two things, Sophie, is something we need to get better at.
Well, exactly. It
let
might
me
not
jump
seem
in.
like a lot to them, but
Let me jump in. There's a point here that the benefit to VJ, the benefit to anybody that's raised money is they don't have to deal with all the individual investors, random phone calls, random sort of people showing up, all of that. They literally just have to collect the data, and Leo will distribute it. So then all the investors who are in the project know they're getting the same information, and the person running the project knows that they just have one place they have to go, and Sophie or someone from the team can be coordinating with them. Oh, we've had some questions come in. Could you take a picture of this next time, or something like that? And if you have any sort of time sequence where you've taken the same photo from the same place for the last 8 months, but I can see the difference in the progress, you know, that alone communicates. So yeah, there's a dance to be done. There's how Leo could possibly educate the people running the projects. Just make the photos available. Just take them, you know, just submit them. And this is how you do that. We'll worry about the rest.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a good point. So what's on the screen there now is actually a new disclaimer that goes on all the project updates from our FCA principal, which just makes it really clear that these monthly updates or bi-monthly updates, whenever we do them, is not a financial promotion. Obviously, the project's already funded, but that Leo Crowdfunding are not responsible for checking the accuracy of the content provided. So that's the investors look at the information, ask the questions from the fundraiser, and assess for themselves the accuracy and the viability of the updates. We are the conduit. We're simply passing the information along to the shareholders.
So you just said the fundraiser provides the information and the investors ask the questions of the fundraiser. We don't ask the questions of the fundraiser. We ask the questions to the platform.
Well, yes,
relay it. Otherwise, VJ is going to get 50 phone calls, and
correct.
That's not what you want to encourage.
Because I clarified, you ask the questions, but it's through the platform. Correct. Through Sophie. This is why.
And well, whether it's Sophie or a team of Sophies, the point is, I don't want to be feeling like, oh my God, I got to start making phone calls because everybody else is making phone calls. I'm going to start hammering VJ because everybody else is hammering VJ and I'm falling behind. I want to know that, like, I'm getting the same as everybody else and I'm not lifting a finger. Yeah.
Good point. Very good point. Okay, so that's that. Now this is obviously relevant for the platform, and been very upfront. We have a number of projects that right now are overdue their projected payout date, and there's obviously a variety of reasons. The various factors. They are what they are. We are where we are. But but we are certainly been very clear now going forward, and Sophie and I are working on this almost on a daily basis, is to ensure that we get the fundraisers to supply us the information we require so that we can, on time and in a timely manner, ensure all the shareholders in these projects are kept fully up to date. I know, Sophie, that's something that I know you're going to be focusing on, and we will do our very best. And Sophie will do her very best to make sure that we supply the information when we can.
Again, not to overly focus on Sophie, the person, but more the team she represents. There's a question in the Q&A. The individual wants to know if the forums are still active for after the raise so that they can post questions in the forum.
Are we asking Sophie or maybe? The answer is yes.
Well, I'm asking someone from Leo who knows the answer. I don't care which one, as long as the person who speaks knows the answer.
Yeah, it is correct. You can still post on the forums and interact on the forums after the raise is closed, which is interesting because without getting too detailed into this, in some ways, I thought there could be opportunity that the forum could be the medium for ongoing investor updates. However, really those updates should be going to shareholders exclusively first, not just to anyone who's on the forums. So we can't really use the forums just to share information until we've obviously informed the shareholders. So
you've opened maybe a can of worms that can be clarified next month. Is the forum open to any registered user or only to people who invested in the project?
Any registered user.
Okay. So therefore, anyone listening today, if you're curious about a past project and you're maybe even looking at a future project from the same developer, you can ask like questions and details about past projects in the forum, and that'll get filtered up to the appropriate person.
Yeah. Okay. So Sophie, some of the things that we're looking at, I'll let you just highlight these just very, very briefly in terms of call it improvements or things we want to get better at over the next couple of months. So I'll let you comment on any of these you want to focus on.
Yeah, so the platform for all is just to be conduit for updates from the fundraiser. So BI monthly update from the fundraiser on time. BI annual shareholder Zoom meetings. They're the ones that was in the other day. Quite good to go through all the information and check everyone's where they should be and updated. Encourage fundraisers to red flag when projects go off projections. And 3-month overdue triggers a site visit as part of fundraiser relations.
Yeah, so that's really why I'm doing up here today in Leicester. I had actually planned to be somewhere else today, but when we look at the situation, I know there was a lot of questions from some of the investors about Citygate, and I've never been here before. And I'm off to Manchester tonight to Canary Connections, a shout out to Barry's event up in Manchester. So I thought it was actually a better use of the CEO's time to actually come here, site visit, and be able then to accurately speak to investors and shareholders on site. I've talked to the VJ, talked to his project manager, saw for myself, and that means that we're able to be that better conduit when it comes to updating. And it's always great to be sitting down with the fundraisers and have that relationship with the fundraiser and develop that. So that's all part of it. So yeah, Sophie, we're looking forward to sort of collectively as a team delivering on all these improvements and making sure that we provide a good sort of conduit service to the shareholders. So as a means of that, I know you have an idea that you would like to implement as part of taking over this role. I don't know if John's got a drum roll on the go there. He's been testing out all these different things. No drum rolls.
That was good enough. Yeah, just whatever feedback you've got for us, it's definitely encouraged. Like we always want to try and do better and improve ourselves and improve the platform. So any feedback is more than welcome. We're happy to take it on board. Yeah, so we are more than happy to take that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a survey go out with just a number of questions just to invite that feedback.
Yeah, please ask the questions.
And that'll give you something to sort of look at and then address, going forward if there's any themes that come back from that feedback. The one that's really long with multiple paragraphs, that'll be the one that John Corey has sent back to you. So just so you know, It is anonymous. It is anonymous, but the big long one will be John's. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Excellent. Okay, well, listen, Sophie, thank you for joining us. I know you were on the phone there doing bits and pieces. If you do need to drop off, you can. If you can stay on, great, stay on. There's another sort of 6 minutes, and we're done. So if you stay on, that'd be great. But thank you for that. And your email address, just let everyone know your email address who needs to contact you.
Yeah, mine is sophie@leocrowdfunding.com.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so over to the next part of these broadcasts is where we call them the Corey's Corner. The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not ask is a fool for life. So the opportunity for John to share some pearls of wisdom. So anything in your mind this month, John?
Not too much. I do want to highlight for all the landlords, there's quite a proposal to change the rules and regs. So when it comes to being foolish about things you don't know, definitely read up on what's being proposed. It's not clear it'll make it through this parliament. In particular, landlords will be interested to know they're taking away Section 21, which is the no-fault termination with notice for a rental contract or a tenancy. Some people saying it looks like we're moving from AST back to assured tenancy, which effectively means that the tenant has almost a right for life to stay for however long they want. They are supposedly, the proposal is to beef up the rules and regs when it comes to ASBO type tenants or people who are aggressively abusing their position as a tenant so that you can evict them quicker. We might refer this as Section 8, but making it easier for landlords to remove tenants who are disruptive, many times interfering the quiet enjoyment of other tenants. So take a look. There's quite a long list. Michael Gove is pushing this. Historically, he's quite good at getting through his agenda when it comes to whatever department he's working in. So don't assume this will be another non-event. I think there's definitely some room for this to become true.
Excellent. Okay, there we are. So that's a good sort of tip off for anyone in that space. You can go and investigate that. So thank you, John, for that. So next month then, as we move to a wrap up, I'm really looking forward to next month. Our gender equality, John, I think we've had more female guests the last 5 or 6 months than we have male guests. So we are doing a bit for full equality. Yeah, Sophie's definitely happy with that. You'll have to get all the same functionality that John has. You can press buttons and cheer and all the rest of it as well. Would do. So next month we have Judith Muller, and really looking forward to this. Judith joined one of our broadcasts, John, one of our boot camps that we did for fundraisers back maybe 2 years ago now, it must be. And she was our special VIP mystery guest when she came in for an extra session for those that were the VIP attendees on that. Property expert. She literally is involved in the managing of multi-billion euro funds throughout Europe. She's entrepreneur, mentor. She mentors entrepreneurs, best-selling author, and even lectures in business and process and property. So very, very, very capable person. She's actually helping us out in the midterm as our chief operating officer. Basically works a day a week now in LEOcrowdfunding. I've learned so much from her already, just in the space of probably 6 to 7 weeks. So John, we're going to be able to quiz Judith next month on this idea of building companies and processes and systems. And I think her mantra is the booster rocket for the hockey stick, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's that sort of that curve in the hockey stick where it makes a difference. And she definitely loves her spreadsheets when it comes to peeling through the layers and going through the details. So it's been enlightening when it's in an interim role, chief operating officer for Leo, having her peel back. How do things work? What do the numbers look like? Where are the costs? Where are the income? Things like that. So
extremely focused on the information that she needs to put into her spreadsheets, as I have discovered, having to do a little bit of extra time supplying information.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, exactly. So that is very interesting. So yeah, listen, it's going to be a really, really good for anyone involved in business at all, running your own business, whatever the case is. Next month is going to be well worth listening to Judith and picking up some things that you can implement in your own business, as well as just hear about property in general. So really looking forward to that. So you can follow us on social media, particularly on YouTube and on LinkedIn and Instagram. And you can check out all the previous broadcasts on our YouTube channel. And there is the last slide. So you can contact support at Leo Crowdfunding. Sophie has just mentioned there's Sophie at leocrowdfunding.com. And if you have
People
any,
can reach her through the support email, right?
yeah, well, the investor one. So support's more general. If you have a particular investor question, you can go to. Yeah, so that's the one you manage the investor account as well, Sophie, don't you?
She's got noise in the room, David. Keep going.
Yes.
Perfect. So
Sorry,
that
I
is
had
us.
to mute it for a second. You're running out of the.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. That's fine. So anyone wants to grab us there, you grab us there. So that's us for today. Any last minute comments from Sophie or John?
No, I think we've covered everything I was covering, definitely.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having you on, Sophie. You'll be back on again in a few months, no doubt. Share your words of wisdom.
Thanks
John's
for
found
having
absolute
me.
music to see us off. John's got music to see us off.
We dance out.
All the best, everyone. Bye-bye. See you next month.
Bye.